and welcome back to Combat Mission Black Sea for the third mission of the US campaign, where we're poking the bear. If that sounds like it might be a bad, dangerous move, then you're getting the same vibe about this mission that I am. The Russians are moving forward again. They're trying to push around NATO positions and hit our supply lines. And intelligence suggests that an entire motor rifle brigade is going to transit this map. The route is screened off by some Russian reconnaissance/security troops, and it's protected by an anti-air umbrella. My job is to take this tiny ragtag, comically undergunned collection of pixel truppen and slow Ivan down. So, an entire motor rifle brigade, or 9 companies, versus some snipers, some scouts, and some 120mm mortars. Poking the bear sounds about right. The good news is that I have a metric ton of air support at my fingertips, from drones to Apaches to fixed-wing fast movers. What I'm going to be doing is really a suppression of enemy air defences mission. My objectives are to roll up Ivan's security screen, destroy his anti-air defences, and then get the Air Force to do the rest of the hard work. What I want to do is run a reconnaissance strike approach. I want to avoid engaging Ivan directly. I want to pinpoint his air defence assets and take them out with precision artillery or javelins, just like in the last mission. But the only place I can move that isn't already occupied by Russian forces is this hill, which doesn't look like it's going to offer a good enough view on its own. Plus, there's always the threat of Russian counterattacks. I don't want to get hemmed into an indefensible corner of the map with all these very vulnerable assets. So I'm going to need to move up, engage and destroy at least some of the Russian screening force so that I have some space to work in. The hill on my left is going to double up as a good defensive position because I can cover all these causeways between the lakes that the enemy will have to cross to attack me. But the woods are impassable to vehicles, and at the moment I don't have any infantry anti-tank to hand. Broadly speaking, the plan as I'm setting out is to set up an observation post on top of the hill on my left and to probe forward on my right to try and set up another OP. I have got a Greyhawk drone on call, which apparently flies high enough to avoid Russian anti-air assets, so I'm going to try and use that to fill in the gaps in my observation, because all these trees are going to seriously restrict the view of any OPs I can set up on the ground. The rest of my force is going to try and set up some defensive positions in my corner of the map. I've got some reverse slope positions to work with, but I've got such a light force I really don't want to be getting into any fights. I'm not bothered about poking Ivan's reconnaissance security screen because even though it's on my list of objectives, I'm entirely focused on taking out his anti-air and then hitting the main body of his force with air power. It doesn't take long after we kick off before the drone picks up Russian armour on the other side of the valley. From the word go, I can see at least a couple of T-90 platoons and parts of what look like a headquarters or support element. So I'm really going to have to tread softly. I really don't want to attract any attention whatsoever. That's simply not the kind of enemy force I'm equipped to tackle directly here. On the left, I'm sending the snipers and one of the scout sections and the JTAC through this dead ground up to the edge of the forest before sending the infantry off on foot. I'm taking it pretty steady because there could be Russian troops in the trees forming an extension of their security screen, and I'm not really going to know about it until I run into them. On the right, I've moved some scout Humvees up out of my corner a little bit, but I can't really move them any further forward without risking getting spotted by either the screen or possible enemy forces on the other side of the valley. So I'm dismounting the scout's XO and seeing if he can't see anything from this tree line. And he immediately spots a Tunguska AA vehicle on the upper slope across the valley. Then he spots a Strela SAM vehicle right next to it. Just as I am identifying that AA position, the drone spots another AA vehicle down in the valley as well. I've definitely identified one AA battery on the left then, and I should be able to identify another one down in the valley once I shuffle the drone over there. There might be more, but I'm starting to call in precision mortar and precision artillery strikes now because I need to get on with this. Hopefully, I'll get eyes on any remaining AA assets by the time I pull the strikes in. I'm not fooling around with the artillery here, I'm throwing everything at one target at a time. It's not exactly efficient in terms of precision munitions, but time's getting on and I need holes poking in that Russian air defense umbrella for my air support to come through. As I'm doing all this, I keep getting reinforcements, which I'm not really sure what to do with. I feel pretty confined to my own little corner here. I reckon I'll have problems if I try and spread out beyond this reverse slope, but at the same time, if Ivan reacts and attacks, I don't have a lot of depth to work with. It's not a good situation either way, but seeing as though I have such a light force, I'd rather avoid contact and try to stay under the radar as much as possible. That aside, things are going well. I'm starting to pick off the AA I can see, and my main OP on the hill is almost in position when more Russian forces appear down the valley. That would be the lead element of that transiting motor rifle brigade then. I need to hurry the hell up and whack the AA because I don't have a cat in hell's chance of taking on a force of enemy armour that size on my own. I need backup from the Air Force. That's a gigantic problem in and of itself, but Ivan has obviously spotted my snipers up on the hill and he's sent a tank platoon to clear them out. My guys haven't got a chance here. The T-90's getting close under the reverse slope and overrun the position before my pixel weapon can react, practically wiping them all out and then angling to skirt the forest and head downhill, where there's a serious chance that they'll rinse and repeat and roll over the rest of my force too. The tanks take a pause though, and the odds start to swing back in my favour. The surviving scout team from the OP sticks an 84 up the arse of one of the T-90s, taking it out, and a little later the MGS striker I have hull down further down the slope manages to get the drop on the first one and then the other. By now there is such a huge Russian force down in the valley that I'm having to call in the Air Force whether or not I've taken all of Ivan's anti-air out. There is literally a battalion-sized enemy element transiting the map in front of me here, and I need to do my job of putting the hurt on it. I'm pretty confident that I've taken a big chunk out of the Russian air defence umbrella in this valley with the artillery, but there could well be more Tunguskas or Strelers out there, or even mobile AA moving with the force in transit. And there are SAMs. Lots of SAMs, and I'm frantically shifting my AA-proof drone and the little Raven drones around to try and spot the anti-aircraft vehicles and neutralise them with artillery before they can cause any more losses. The Air Force is trying, but they've already lost an F-16, both of the Apaches are gone, and the AA threat is doing a good job of cutting off the rest of the aircraft and disrupting their attack wing. As all this is going on, a BMP platoon pops up at point blank range on my right flank, and it's only a quick reorientation and a snap ambush behind the reverse slope that nips that issue in the bud. There are more Russian tanks heading my way though, and the two Striker ATGM vehicles, and I'm trying to use to pick off some of the enemy tanks across the valley, don't last very long. Pretty soon Ivan has tanks almost rolling over me on my left. The Striker MGS over there goes down as I try and peek over the slope, and the lead T-90 following it up gets far too close for comfort before being nailed by a barrage of AT-4s and cannon fire from a Bradley. But after another T-90 gets javelined on the slope, Ivan starts to disengage. By now it looks like all the Russian air defence is either exited off map or it's been hit, and the Air Force can finally get on with its job of bombing things. The enemy's routes across the map are pretty clear now, and I'm able to bring in 155mm artillery as well to try and maximise the belated carnage. The 1st Battalion to transit got away with some fairly light casualties. The 2nd Battalion had a worse time, and by the time the 3rd has started to transit, the Air Force has gotten into its stride and has really started putting the hurt on. A little while later, the Russian Recce security screen begins to pull back as well. It starts collapsing in towards the exit points, and with all the planes out of ammo and the last of the artillery falling on them, it's the end of the mission. And it's another surprise total victory. It didn't feel like much of a victory, it feels like a complete disaster, but I've apparently done my job of sticking it to that motor rifle brigade. Ivan's lost 228 dead and 59 wounded out of a total of 644. Or in other words, I've inflicted about 45% casualties, including 14 tanks, 34 armoured vehicles and 9 soft-skinned vehicles, along with the obligatory Russian drone from the reconnaissance troops. In return, I've lost 22 dead and 2 wounded. That's mostly from the OP on the hill that got overrun, and I've lost 5 vehicles along with 4 aircraft. So realistically, maybe not too bad an exchange for crippling a motor rifle brigade, but this one is going to make for a very interesting after action. So there's that to look forward to, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll catch you in the next video.